Thank you very much.
감사합니다.
Many of you know Eastern cultures like China, Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, and other countries like Vietnam, somewhat to Hong Kong and Singapore. They all have a common thread. Confucian culture influence their societies. But most of us don't know is the influence of Confucian culture in America's founding more than 230 years ago. I'm going to share with you the Confucian and Chinese culture and their influence on the founding of America in 1776. That was the only country in the world that was created by men. Chinese civilization and other civilizations were evolved over the years. But America was the only first country in the world created by man. When they created a new country, the Republic, just like ROK, Republic of Korea, the Republic, we created a country, new country. When they created the new country, they went to the West, looked for the West, and also they looked for the East. They combined these two cultures to make it the best of two civilizations. It's a European civilization, the Greek and Roman civilization, and the Chinese civilization. So I am going to share with you the Confucius and the Chinese culture and their influence on the America's founding. When the country was born, 1776, they had the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. During the break, one of the oldest and wisest founding father, Benjamin Franklin, actually he was a doctor, Benjamin Franklin, came out of the convention hall in Philadelphia. And then one woman said, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or monarch?" Then Benjamin Franklin said, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." Because America wants to break away from its mother country of England, the monarch. They don't want to have a monarch. We wanted to have a republic. So here, when we talk about founding fathers wanted to debate about whether we wanted to have a republic or democracy, they said we wanted to have a Greek system or Roman system. Here again, the Greek word democratic comes from the people to rule, or government by people. In a Latin, res publica or republic means public affairs, or Plato's republic, a utopian commonwealth. The commonwealth is neither king nor hereditary aristocratic. They are coming from one generation to another. We don't like that kind of monarchy. It is assembly of elected people, elected representative. It is when you have elected representative, what we want, the virtues. That's where founding fathers turn to Eastern cultures, the Confucius culture. Here, when they look for creating a new country, they look for the heaven, Tianxia concept in Chinese. Then Benjamin Franklin said, if we wanted to have this new republic, we need to have the blessing from the heaven, or the providence. You have the same kind of concept. In soul is connected to the heaven. You have a river and the northern part and southern part of the soul. You have the ancient palace, is a square, is tilted toward the northeast star, the polar star. Just like Tiananmen Square in Beijing, and same as Washington DC. So you can see Seoul, Beijing, Washington DC all share the similar kind of meaning to heaven, the blessing from the heaven. In our declaration that we broke away from the mother country of England, Thomas Jefferson, our third president and the founding father, the author of the Declaration of Independence, said, in every human event, there is the hands of God, hands of heaven, nature's God is touched on it. So here said, what we need in America is the government or the republic or the religion of virtue for the American Republic if we wanted to keep it. Here, nature's God, the heaven, Tianxia, Tian. Or America we call providence. Some call God. Some call governor. Some call architect, great architect, or the conductor, or the creator of the heaven and earth. So, it is not really a Christian God, or the Hindu God, or the Muslim God, or any specific God, but it's heaven, the providence. So the US is governed by the nature's God, according to the founding fathers. So this idea was a heaven, was also inspired by the Roman and Greek civilizations. There they said, one of the philosopher king, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and other philosophers said, religion is regarded by the common people as true, but wise as false, and the rulers as useful. Some rulers, if you look at the Chinese civilization, they want to get rid of the Confucian system during the Cultural Revolution. Now new rulers want to bring back Confucianism. So here, some rulers use it as a useful tools. But how did we get these ideas to America? It came from Jesuit missionaries, Christian missionaries who came to China during the Ming Dynasty. They translated the Analect, the Confucius text, or the Great Learning, or the Book of Poems, Book of Music, Book of Odes, or Great Learning, and Analect. They were translated into Latin, Latin to French and German and to English. So there, Meteor Rishi, trying to reconcile the Christianity God and the Confucius heaven, they are the same. So this idea was also came to in America from the European Enlightenment to the American Enlightenment. So here, St. Jesuit historian wrote the general history of China. It's the encyclopedic knowledge about the Chinese culture, people's lifestyle, and their belief system, and the governing system, and also the plant and the rivers and the mountains and everything. It was written in this very thick book. It was translated and it came to America. and other works of the Moral of Confucius, the Analect, and the Great Learning. They were translated into English and came to America. Here, during the European Enlightenment, these European philosophers, where did they get these ideas? Confucius. But we don't hardly know about it. One is the Leibniz, German philosopher, Quincy, French philosopher, and Voltaire. They are another philosopher. They said Confucius as the greatest of all sages and regarded Confucian as a highly developed system of morals. And Voltaire said the constitution of that means Chinese empire, is the truth and best that there is in the world. 4,000 years ago, when we did not know how to read, they knew everything essentially useful of which we boast today. So essentially, European Enlightenment also influenced by the Confucius thinking and teaching and their philosophies. So here, European Enlightenment influenced American founding fathers, and from with them, there is Confucius writings in America as well, in the 13 colonies. One is Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. These two founding fathers have the personal copies of the general history of China. So, America, we also have a kind of a Confucius. This Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, he is a very talented polymath of his generation. He is the oldest and wisest, and he published some of the morals of Confucius in his publications, Pennsylvania Gazette in Philadelphia. He wrote, "This is what Confucius proposed to the princes, to instruct them how to rectify and polish first their own reason." So Confucianism is a reasoning, is a relationship, is a reciprocity. So here, Franklin, the American Confucius, talked about, he said he was very fond of reading about China. And he said, if I were a young man, he should go to China. And then he also said, the Chinese are enlightened people, the most anciently civilized of any existing. So Confucius' influence on the Chinese society was fully aware by the founding fathers. So one of the letters Franklin wrote to one of the Christian preachers, he said, when Confucius saw his country, mean China, sunk in vice and wickedness of all kind of triumphs, he applied himself first to the grandees, and having by his doctrine won them by the course of virtue, the common fellow in multitudes, the more was wonderful influence on humankind. The Benjamin Franklin wrote to the Christian preacher. Then Thomas Paine, he is one of the most literate, most influential person of the America's founding. He has written several books, The Common Sense, The Age of Reasoning, and so forth. And he said, Confucius, he considered he's equal to Christ or to the Socrates. Then he said, the Chinese people are who have all the appearance of far greater antiquity than the Jews, the Jewish people in Israel, which is also ancient civilization, the religious civilization. Then he said, the Chinese are also a people of mild manners and good morals. Another founding father, Charles Thompson. He is the secretary of the Continental Congress. He's just like a prime minister in the new government. And he said, Philadelphia, which was that time the main city, lies in the equal to the 14th degree of the north latitude, very same as Peking, which is Beijing in China. And the comparable soil and climate thrives in a degree equal to our warmest expectation. So, American founding fathers wanted to create Philadelphia just like in Beijing or Peking. And then they said, this country may be improved beyond what might have been expected if we were so fortunate to introduce the industries of the Chinese, their art of living and improvement in husbandry, as well as their native plants. America might in time become as populous as China. At that time, China has 300 million people. The US has 13 colonies, has a little over 1 million people. Now we have almost 400 million people. China has 1.2 billion people. So, in other words, America would in time come to possess much likeness in the wealth of its industries to China. China and America in the land size is very much same. So here, our first president, George Washington, they were all influenced by the founding Confucius thinking. One of the places he talked about that heaven smiles on the American project. And heaven itself has ordained the American Republic. It's the same as the Confucius said, he who offends against heaven has none whom he can pray. Heaven is the greatest in the world. So now American founding fathers who has a Western background from England and European countries look to China and to amalgamation, age of amalgamation, combine these two cultures together to make a new country called the United States of America, the Republic. So America is a religion of morality at the very beginning. It is a e pluribus unum, out of many we are one people. Confucius said, under heaven we are all brothers and sisters. E pluribus unum, out of many, we are all one. And then America is also a philosophic empire. So that philosophic empire is connected through commerce, trade between countries. So here, now is the question is America a republic or democracy? The word democracy was not mentioned in any of the founding documents. Not in the Constitution, not on the Declaration of Independence, not of the Bill of Rights. Three most important documents that America was founded on. So here, Alexander Hamilton said, republic is not good. John Adams, our second president, he said, democracy never lasts long. It soon wasted, exhausted, and murdered itself. There never was a democracy. And then James Madison, father of the US Constitution, he said, democracy has never been a spectacle of turbulence and contention, have never ever been founded incompatible with personal security or the rights of property, and have in general has been short in their lives as they are violent in their death. So now you have a Republic of Korea. We have a Republic of America called United States of America. We didn't want to have a democracy. No. What happened? We turn a U-turn. We turn back. I had the privilege to serve under 5 American presidents. During the George W. Bush time, he wanted to make democratic promotion in the Middle East, going to war in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. What happened? It failed. But they didn't take the wisdom of the founding fathers. We took the U-turn. Why? Where? Why? Because America got engaged in the First World War I. First World War I, President Woodrow Wilson appealed to the American people to make the world safe for democracy. You remember League of Nations, before the United Nations was created. We wanted to make the world safe for democracy. And then the Second World War came, the League of Nations were ineffective. The war emerged again on Germany to Italy, then to Japan, and you engage in that war. And here, United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt said, must be the greatest arsenal of democracy. Now, this a new kind of politics came in, the politics of identity, the tribal politics. That was discussed, debated by the founding fathers. They knew this is going to create a problem if you want to have a democracy. But they wanted to have a republic of elected people who have virtues. So here, now, republic of morality is missing in America. You can see it from the White House. The morality, the republic of morality is missing. Then here, Benjamin Franklin recognized the imperfections of human understanding. And James Madison, who created the check and balance system in our system. 3 equal branches of government, executive, legislative, and judiciary branch. So he said, if men are angels, no government would be necessary. If angels are to govern men, neither external or internal control of government would be necessary. Then it says, all depend on the people. If people are virtuous, you have a virtuous republic. And if leaders are virtuous, we have a republic of virtuous with happy people. So here, Madison and Mencius, both. Mencius is the one of the disciples of Confucius from Shandong province near Chufu. There, Confucius said, if people are led by laws, the uniformity is sure to be given them by punishment. They will try to avoid the punishment but have no sense of shame, and so forth. Mencius also said, the people are the most important element of the state. The territory comes next and the king last. And American founding father James Madison agreed with Mencius. He said Confucian doctrine of highest good is the principle of the heaven. It exists only in the mind. And if there are internal or no external control of government, the mind dwells itself. Confucius talked about the development of the mind, cultivation of the mind, the morality. So where did the Mencius talk about this one? He talks about square and compass. The highest good is to manifest in character and the loving people as the carpenter's square and compass are to the square, to the circle. and rule to measure the length and the balance and scale to the weight. So in essence, if you wanted to summarize the morality of Confucius, square and compass. Here, it rules the heaven and the earth. The ancient Chinese people believed that the heaven is round, earth is square. It was the same belief until Galileo came in, who talked about, no, earth is not square, it's round, the other way around, the earth goes around the sun. The similar ideas come into until the Galileo came in. So here, the emperor established the harmonious order between the heaven and earth with the good government. That means square and compass, the circle and square. Where did that come from? That comes from the Confucianism, that's China's Adam and Eve. If you were a Christian, Adam and Eve or the original father and mother. Confucianism holding the square and compass. It was in the great learning. A man should abstain from doing unto others what he would not, they should be done unto him. This is the called principle of acting on the square, which we call the golden rule. Okay, so square and compass, the heaven and earth concept, circle and the square, is also in Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. In the east side is Maryland and the west side of Virginia. That's where I live. So here, the heaven is also connected to the Virgo. And then that buildings are White House, the Capitol, and the Washington monuments are reflecting the heaven. It's the same as Beijing or Seoul city. Seoul, you have a river that was also connected to the heaven, the north part of the Seoul and the southern part of Seoul. So here, the square and compass is the Providence city. You have a sun on the east, west on the moon palace, and the north is the temple of earth, and the south of the temple of heaven. If you look at it, this one is, you also see the another square, just like Washington D.C., and that one is, heaven is connected to the North Pole. Here, celestial connections is important. Washington D.C. is in the middle, is controlled by the Virgo constellation. The Virgo in the Roman and Greek mythology is the god of commerce, so America's mission has to be commerce. That was reflected in the Federal Triangle. Inside the Federal Triangle, if you go to Washington D.C., you can see the Federal Trade Commission, taxation, and Department of Commerce, Ronald Reagan Building of the International Trade, all are in this triangle. Why? Because that was connected to the Virgo constellation. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the Roman god of commerce. And that idea of commerce is very important. That is how we live today. You trade with Japan, China, US. And here, if you look at the architectural design of the two cities, Federal City is square and Providence City in Beijing is the same. So Mencius said, the America said, nature's God or the Providence or the Confucian thinkers, that's heaven. So here, understanding human nature or Tian, Confucius' doctrine of reciprocity is very important. Confucius talked about the relationship in this world. In China's Taoism, they talk about the heaven. And the Buddhism was imported from India and Sri Lanka, where I was born. it is combined Taoism, Confucianism together by Buddhism. The Buddhism also influenced the Korean civilization in the Silla dynasty during the Koryo time period. And later on, Joseon dynasty in the 12th century give up more prominence to Confucianism, but still Buddhism prevailed in Korean Peninsula. During that time, you had the Tang dynasty in China. Tang dynasty and the Joseon dynasty during the period of 6th century to 9th century has an interrelationship with the Korean Peninsula and the Tang dynasty in Luoyang, or modern day very close to Xi'an. Here, the golden rules is what Confucius talked about. He said, do not impose on others what you do not want him to impose on you. Very simple notion. It was so fascinating. This notion has two principles. One is the self-cultivation of free will. There's no God or anybody influencing you. It is the free will. We decide whether we want to have respect elderly, or the teachers, or the parents, or you have a respect with the relationship with your children, and so forth. It is the self-cultivation of the free will, the mind. The other one is reciprocity. If I treat you this way, you will treat me that way. This is very simple for the doctrine of morality. Here, there is a metaphysics. There is a spirit behind this. One is Confucius said, is there one of the Confucius disciple asked the Confucius, is there one word which may serve as a rule of practice for all one's life? Confucius said, isn't that not reciprocity? And then another disciple asked, what do you say concerning the principle that injured should be compensated with kindness? This is very important distinction Confucius made and also Mencius made later on. Confucius said, when all you recompensate kindness, recompensate injury with justice, and recompensate kindness with kindness, which is similar to the Buddhist notion, the compassionate one. Here, how this idea is coming into the America now. Thomas Paine wrote about it. He said, as a book of morals, there are several parts of the New Testament, which means the Christian Bible, that are good. But they are no other than what has been preached in the Eastern world several hundred years before the time of Christ was born. Even before Christ, before Christianity, there was another sage, philosopher, talks about this. Confucius, the Chinese philosopher who lived 500 years before the time of Christ, says, acknowledge thy benefit by the return of the benefit. If you are kind, kindness will come to you. But never revenge the injury, but do not revenge the injured people, but demonstrate the compassion. So these ideas come to the Thomas Jefferson. All the founding fathers has a Christian beliefs, more or less. Thomas Jefferson cut out of the divinity, the God's part in the Bible. He made his own Bible. He removed all the passages dealing with the miracles, or the visitation of the angel, or the resurrection of the Jesus Christ after he died. Then he wrote his own Bible. He cut it off. He had the 4 Bibles next to him. Greek, English, Latin, and French. He read all of this and combined, and then he said, this is the moral of Jesus of Nazareth. And here, that Jefferson Bible is now commonly known as, is become the moral about how American people should live. He tried to promote that idea. So then, when America come with all these ideas, the republic of morality, how can we develop in economic side? If you are a governor this morning talks about the economic development. In China, leaders wanted to have economic development, human development. America also wanted to do the moral part and economics part. Here, for the economic part, America did with the sending of our first commercial ship from New York Harbor to Canton, the modern day Guangzhou or Guangdong province near Hong Kong. In the US Congress said, two important letters, Commerce Clause. It has three ideas: trade with the Native Americans, trade with all the 13 colonies, the now states, and trade with the foreign countries. The first thing America did was we sent the first ship. What was in it? American ginseng. Send it to China. And we brought silk and ceramic and tea back to colonies. So that was the economic development strategy, the trade. So when we sent that the emperors of China, not only that one, our third president, Thomas Jefferson, became a third president. He sent the Lewis and Clark going to the Ohio River, Mississippi River, all the way to Seattle, Washington State. Why? We wanted to have a navigation. Otherwise, American ships have to go to South America or to South Africa. It's far away. So we wanted to have a shortcut to China for trade. So that idea, trade, bring people together. We are all brothers and sisters. If we trade, we can connect in each other. So that is why from the very beginning of the Chinese civilization, from the Qin dynasty to the last Qing dynasty until Sun Yat-sen came into power in 1911 under the Republic of China, now is in Taiwan. They use the coins. The coins is the square and compass, the Fushi and Noah, heaven and earth together. Through commerce, we can bring the heaven and earth together, bring people together. And the same is, this idea is also the symbol of Bank of China now. In America, we have a similar thing. In God we trust. Trust is the most important thing in this reciprocal relationship that Confucius talked about. You would not go to the doctor if you do not trust the surgery. You do not go to the school if you do not trust your teachers or professors. You do not go to the church or the mosque or the temple if you do not believe our religious teachers. The trust is the most important thing. This is a reciprocity. You trust your children, children trust you. Look at your mother and the child connections when she was born or he was born. The trust. The mother knows how to keep the child, and the child knows trust in mother. So trust in this relationship, reciprocal relationship that Confucius talked about, is fundamentally important to the America's moral development. So here they used in our American coins, if you were to see that one, if you look at the $1 bill, in God we trust. You can see that one as well. So here, virtuous people are the only people who can govern themselves. John Adams, our second president, talked about only the virtuous, Confucius said, only the virtuous are able to rule all under heaven. Same as when John Adams said, only the foundation of the free constitution is pure virtue. And if this cannot be inspired our people, they may change their rulers and the form of government, but they will not obtain the lasting liberty. If you don't have a morals, if you don't have virtues, you cannot have a liberty, you cannot have a freedom. That's what our second president believed. And James Madison also said the aim of every political constitution is, or ought to be, first to obtain the rulers, men who possess most wisdom to discern and most virtue to pursue, and the common good of the society. Which is pretty much this Confucius talk about, our founding fathers are talking about. Only the virtuous people can enjoy the freedom. That was said by the Benjamin Rush, he's another doctor, and Dr. Benjamin Franklin. He said only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. This morality and national security is also important, which is our first president said, George Washington, it is substantially true that virtues or morality is the necessary spring of popular government. And further, Samuel Adams, another founding father, who involved in the Boston Tea Party, the revolution, American Revolution, he said, we may look up to the armies for our defense, but virtue is our best security. So here, founding fathers reformulated these Confucius and Mencius ideas. Not only that, they looked to China's culture to model of the American Republic. And second president said, Confucius agreed with this truth of having happiness by practicing a virtuous life. And virtues is equal to North Star, which I talk about, that Tiananmen Square is connected to the North Pole. So Benjamin Franklin also said, by laws itself, rules itself, cannot govern the nations unless their people are virtuous. He said, laws without moral are in vain in governing the republic. So these ideas, which I mentioned from the East and the West, is already reflected in our highest body of the justice, US Supreme Court building. If you go to the eastern side, if you see the Confucius on the left, middle in the Moses, and the Greek philosopher Solon on the right side. Because this is an acknowledgement that American moral society have to is the combination. So this is the education. Education is America has to be a moral republic. It's a philosophic empire, and it's a hybrid of the two civilizations together, East and West, the age of amalgamation. This is also reflected in our institutions, the two institutions founded by Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, University of Virginia, and the Pennsylvania University, founded by these two founding fathers. They wanted to have a moral education. So this is moral education. They hesitate to have the aristocracy, they're coming from the birthrights or the wealth. They want to have a natural democracy, natural aristocracy, which is the meritocracy, the talent and the virtues people. This is also reflected in our national archives. Left, he said the past is the prologue, and it is coming from the Shakespeare, Western civilization. On the east side, they study the past. It talked about the Confucius said, study the past if you want to divine the future. So this idea is also reoccurring in the George Washington's saying that we ought to have smiles of the heaven, same as that Confucius said, heaven has none to whom you can pray, which is the same ideas reformulated by the founding fathers. With that, if you wanted to have a kind of future, just like earlier sessions people talked about it, you need to study the past if you wanted to have a divine future. Thank you very much.
네, 고맙습니다. 멘디스 교수님 발표 감사드립니다.